Just going to wait a minute. There are a couple connecting to audio. Give them a second. All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome this early morning on October 27th. I always like to say the date we do record these sessions, and so when you're looking back at your notes or sharing this, it is October 27th, 2020, and we have an exciting program here today. We are focused on the sale of a business and the role of real estate professionals as partners of the Center for Business and Transition as we all work to hopefully keep as many of these businesses alive and well in our region. There's a huge impact on losing businesses, from the employee counts to just our downtowns and our commercial buildings. So we've had a number of sessions, and Danny will talk a little bit more about the CBIT, but today we're really focused on the partnership with our real estate professionals and making a successful sale. So first, I'd like to introduce Danny Delaney, who is the coordinator for the Center for Business and Transition, and she's going to share a little bit about this initiative to hopefully provide new information to all of you so that you can refer people and we can begin a stronger partnership. So Danny, if you'd like to go ahead.
Great, good morning. Thank you so much. I'm gonna share my screen here, and I'm gonna just do a quick presentation a little bit about the Center for Businesses and Transition. And can everybody see that? Yep, perfect. My name is Danny Delaney. I am the coordinator for the Center for Businesses and Transition. It's a program that is run and housed at ANCA, the Adirondack North Country Association. We serve the 14 northernmost counties in New York, and we work on issues that are focused on the new economy. So we work on lots of different things. So we support local businesses and jobs and vibrant main streets, promote shared community assets, circulate wealth, and think about how these things also intersect with our ecological commons here in our region. We have sort of a traditionally extractive rural economy here in New York in the North Country. And we want to just ensure that as we move forward, that we are keeping more of the money that is made here in our communities, our neighborhoods, and for the people that live and work here. We work in food systems. We do a lot of sort of farm to school programming, help for small farmers. We work in the energy economy, so clean energy economy, clean transportation infrastructure, wood products industries, all sorts of different things in that bucket. And then today, this is probably more important for what we're talking about today. We also work in the entrepreneurial economy. So we help small business owners and artisans who are looking to sort of expand their business or start a business. And we don't do sort of direct technical support. We do a lot of sort of additional programs that might help someone in a variety of ways. And today we're going to focus on the Center for Business and Transition, but I should say we also have a sort of localized crowdfunding campaign. We help artisans who are looking to go to wholesale, moving from sort of doing a craft show into actually selling to retail. And we do a number of other sort of support programs for e-commerce and different things, that small business owners may need. A couple of years ago, we started regional economic analysis. This was done in partnership with tons of different universities and colleges and folks throughout the North Country. And we did this with the Center for Rural Entrepreneurship. And I hope sort of identify some of the ways that we could work together towards different economic sectors that would be great for us to think about. And us, when I'm saying that, I mean ANCA, but also all of the folks that we work with on a daily basis. We really pride ourselves and focus on collaboration and partnership as the best way in which to serve our region. And so some of the things that came out of that were sort of trying to focus on crafted manufacturing, local food and value-added agriculture, as well as sustainable tourism. And all of these folks helped to put together that analysis, and it's available online. As I've been doing these presentations this year, I haven't been sort of going back to talk about this analysis as much, but especially as real estate agents, if somebody is looking to take over a business and is looking for some more information about the local economy, this particular economic analysis is a good opportunity for you to have an additional thing to share with one of your clients if they're looking to take something over. It might be, useful for them in developing their business plan or to learn more about some of the region's assets that could be taken advantage of to build more businesses. So one of the things that came out of that regional economic analysis is this idea that we're sort of faced with a quote unquote silver tsunami. So lots of retiring baby boomers transitioning out. That's not necessarily going to happen tomorrow, but from that analysis, we could sort of extrapolate that somewhere between 10 and 16,000 business owners in the North Country region are of the baby boomer demographic, and small business owners specifically. So that's a huge number of business owners who would be, looking to retire at some point. Folks seem to be retiring a little bit later and a little bit later. So it may not happen, next year or 2 years from now, but certainly it is coming in waves and we're seeing quite a bit of it. This has a huge impact on our economy overall, but it also, is it has a bigger impact on rural areas where there's not as many people to take over the existing businesses. It's one thing if a pizza shop closes in New York City, it's another when a pizza shop closes in one of our downtowns when it's one of only 3 restaurants in the area. So that's something to that we thought about as an organization, but really because we've been hearing from all of our chambers of commerce, from all our industrial development agencies, all sorts of different people who had committees about economic development or were talking to their community members. We're really seeing this as something that was bubbling up and that needed to be taken into sort of serious consideration as to how we can move forward as a region and how we can do this work together. So we really saw this as a national problem, but that needed a regional focused partnership collaborative approach to be able to think about how we might be able to help our business owners and folks trying to take over businesses. And one of the things, I think sometimes folks think we are only trying to help businesses who are on public or, trying to sell their business on the open market. And while that's an important part of what the Center for Business and Transition does, honestly, more often, the businesses that are talking to us are trying to sell to an employee, or they're just sort of thinking about their next steps. So let me talk a little bit about that. So the Center for Business and Transition, we will help somebody if they're looking to take over an existing business, or if they're an entrepreneur looking to take on a new business. But really, we're kind of a first stop for folks to think about that process and to get their ducks in a row, and really just sort of help guide people in the direction of building a strategic plan for their transition process. We connect them with free and low cost resources throughout the North Country. And we do that by having sort of a boots on the ground hub and spoke model where all of these organizations have liaisons throughout the region who can help people talk through what does that look like when you're first thinking about transitioning your business. What are the things you have to think about? How long will it take? What kind of bookkeeping things do you need to start thinking about? Are there tax implications? And most folks just don't really often have a plan in place statistically, and throughout the nation don't have a plan in place to figure out what to do next and how to go about it. And so just having, local people who can come together and help guide them through the transition process and those initial thoughts or those initial steps that you need to take is what we really focus on. And, I think it's one thing to have all the logos of all of the businesses up there, but it's another to see people's faces, right? These are the folks that are really out there already talking to people in their communities. They're, Brooke is a liaison here, and she is always busy with the St. Lawrence Chamber of Commerce and making sure to weave this into her programming. But there's folks throughout the North Country that are doing this every day and working together to come up with shared solutions that we can share with other people. So it's a center, but it's not like in a place really. It's a dynamic evolving partnership between all of these organizations and individuals. So these are all the people, and this is all on our website, and you can check that out afterwards. But we provide matchmaking services with potential buyers, access to planning tools, in connection with existing services. Business owners typically call us if they're looking to sort of navigate available resources, find a suitable successor, or access capital. And I'll speak to that accessing capital point. Sometimes, there's a lot of, traditionally, there are a lot more funds available for folks who are looking to start up a business in terms of grants or things like that. And we're really trying, and I think making some headway in working with our local IDAs and banks and other funders to be able to make taking over an existing business more financially accessible to more people. There's a lot of reasons why it might be financially a better choice. You can see, how well the business has been doing. You already have customers, things like that. But that's something that we've been making sure that, in where there are opportunities for startup capital, there are also opportunities for transition capital. Aspiring entrepreneurs call us to talk about taking over an existing business, think about a new career path, or find out about employee ownership models or cooperatives. We work with about 100 prospective transitioning business right now, 2 interested business investors, 46 aspiring entrepreneurs, and over 98 organizations and community leaders who are just invested in the work that we're doing. Because of our hub and spoke model, where we're really working as a partnership to get the word out and to work together to share and learn and utilize best practices, we have a pretty extensive reach out to businesses and individuals throughout our communities. Some businesses that we work with have a real estate agent or realtor of some kind. Some do own their buildings, some don't own their buildings. Moontree Design in Lake Placid has a realtor, doesn't own their building. Some of the business owners that we work with, such as, this is Judy from Garnet Studio. She has a hand custom made jewelry studio down in the North Creek region, but she actually wants this business to not be in her house anymore, and she wants somebody else to move it to a main street, right? So that's kind of a different situation. She's not trying to sell the location of the business itself, but both the assets that she has, but also her knowledge. And I think one of the things that we really focus on, and you'll see this more on our website and kind of the work that we do, we are not interested in trying to sell the building in terms of, or like the assets themselves. Like, we want folks to meet the business owner and really see that as something that could be really helpful in the transition process, having a mentor that can help guide you through their best practices for the business and to be able to transition that business successfully. And we really just talk about the person. If we are not real estate agents or realtors, and we send people to real estate agents and realtors and business brokers and accountants, and everybody needs that professional services team. But we do like to sort of this is an opportunity for that business owner to tell the story of their own life and how they started this business, why it's important to them, and the kind of skills and the kind of knowledge that they have about their business that they could share with another person and help them to be successful in continuing the legacy of the business that they built. For example, this is Manat Woodworks. Gerard has a little studio outside of his house. It doesn't even have electricity. And he hand restores wood furniture, makes all of the stains himself, wicks the chairs. And, this business isn't worth a lot of money, on paper, but it could be worth a lifetime job, a lifetime of skills and job that he just doesn't want. He doesn't want to die with him. He wants somebody else to learn those things. He's looking for somebody who's more of a journeyman or an apprentice. And so the folks that call us are just such a wide variety. Some people, they want to sell their $1 million hotel, and we kind of talk to them about valuation and offer some free resources. And then other people, it's really about finding somebody that they can mentor and take on as a successor if they don't have any children that are interested in that. Recently, we were able to launch our new website, which is called ownanorthcountrybusiness.com. And it is a little more focused on, if somebody's thinking about coming to the area or thinking about buying a business in the North Country. But the website itself has a few little profiles of the businesses that are available. I highly encourage you to check it out. We'll make sure to put it in the chat box. But you'll see the profiles are about the person. They're about the person that owns the business, not about the real estate, or not about the value of the business is not on there. It's really sort of a profile of this business owner and taking over the lifestyle that they've been able to create for themselves. So if somebody reaches out to us and they fill out their inquiry form, they're added to a mailing list to receive notifications. They're contacted by somebody from our liaison team who will do about an hour-long interview to really get to sort of the heart of what they need, where they're at in the process, and what questions they might have. We talk to them about next steps and have some recommendations. Oftentimes we're sending folks along to the Small Business Development Center offices, their local chamber, the IDA. Sometimes we're sending them along to folks who can help with financing. Sometimes we're sending them along to maybe, to find a real estate agent. Maybe it's time for them to do that. We also add them to this online directory of available businesses in the North Country if that's within their goals. And Kim and I were just talking about this before we got started, probably less than a third of the businesses that we talk to are really looking for that very public, are ready for that very public indication of sale of their business. Some people want to be listed anonymously, and we can talk to them about that. So I often say, as an example, I often talk to people about, we have a large recreational outfitter somewhere in the North Country that is looking to transition their business. They also have a guiding service, but that's the way that we talk about it, right? So they aren't ready to sort of put out that shingle and say, yep, we are publicly available and we want everyone to come knock on our door and talk about it. They're afraid to lose their customers. They're afraid to lose their employees. Lots of reasons they may not be ready to do that. And we're able to sort of talk about that somewhat anonymously. And then we just help folks throughout their process when they're hitting roadblocks here or there. We talk to them about how we can leverage all of these resources and all these economic development partners throughout the region to sort of overcome those obstacles. So again, we're not lawyers, we're not bankers, we're not financial consultants or mortgage brokers or realtors. We just help people to sort of start thinking about this process, how they might think about valuation, but we don't make valuations for them. We don't build business plans for them. We just provide templates and resources for folks to be able to do most of this work themselves. We do have a localized how-to guide on our website, which has lots of sort of very specific North Country information, but things like, what are the 5 things you should think about before you talk to someone who walks in to buy your business? If you're thinking about valuation, what are the different ways somebody might want to value a business? If you have an employee who is interested in taking over a business, but they're not quite ready yet, are there some resources available to give them so they can think through that process themselves? So this is available on our website as well, and we'll put the links in the chat. But it's conversational. You'll see sort of throughout the guidebook that it says, please consult your financial professional, please consult your real estate agent, please consult a professional about these things, but just gets folks starting thinking about those processes. We have lots of resources available in terms of videos and presentations, workshops like this one. We did a number of them last year, all about preparing to sell your business, transitioning, intergenerational family transitions, tons this year as well. So there's quite a video library. We'll put that in the chat as well and email that out to everyone. Every workshop that we do is recorded and then put up online afterwards so folks can access them on your own time. We also have a sort of small compendium evaluation specific resource development this year. I know that can be a little bit tricky because of COVID-19 and how people are thinking about valuing their business might be different, or things that they might want to consider. So we do have some resources available for that if you have clients who have questions about that. And one thing, I'm sure that you guys hear about this all the time, but valuation wise, a valuation can, if somebody's business is big enough to warrant needing a full scale valuation from an accounting firm, it can cost, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, depending on the size of the business. But most of the business owners that we work with are under 5 people. They're not really big enough to warrant that kind of large scale valuation. Some people still want it, and that's great. And we have some folks in the area that can do those. But we have been partnering with the Small Business Development Center, the SBDC, to sort of help provide a lot of valuation resources so folks can either do it themselves and talk to their CPA in a way that feels in a way that they are really knowledgeable about different ways that a business can be valued. And then we do have a few resources for if somebody has everything together but they can't really afford a valuation. We do have some folks that we can connect them to for some low cost second looks at those valuations. So that is something that we offer and can help with to some degree. So we help with farm transition planning as well, lots of valuation kind of resource kind of stuff, and family transitions. So we really talk to people. I mean, if we do nothing else, what we talk to people most about is just taking the time to plan and making sure that they're thinking 3 to 5 years in advance so that they are ready to be able to make that transition and be successful at it in terms of making sure that the value of their business is as good as it can be in their taxes over the last 3 years, so really accurate of the actual value that they have in their business. And so we talk about, all of those things with folks, but really it's about those sort of first steps and kind of thinking about where they should be going. We also help people think about worker cooperatives. So if somebody wants to sell their business to their employees and they want to take it over as a cooperative, we have a bunch of different resources and and organizations that we partner with to work on that. We have a number of different other sort of programs and things, and I won't go all into that because I don't want to take up time from hearing from other people. But that in a nutshell is what we do. We've been going for about 2 years. It's a pilot program. There's not really a lot of other programs like it in the U.S. There's a few different programs that are similar through colleges and universities. In some places, but there really isn't another program like it that's so focused on partnership and collaboration through all these different organizations. And it's an exciting thing to be part of, and we're excited to sort of talk to you guys more about how we can work together to make sure that we're all helping. There's so many different pieces of the transition puzzle, and the more that we can leverage each other as resources, the better.
Great. Thank you, Danny. I know it's a lot of information, but for those of you who are new to the CBIT, hopefully that was a good overview and you'll get a chance to check out the website. Lexi did put those links in the chat. So if you want to make sure to save those and check them out and share them with your colleagues, that would be wonderful. And there are actually 2 websites. There's one on the ANCA site, and then there's the ownanorthcountrybusiness.com. Danny, can you just touch on the difference, or is everything migrating over to that new site?
Most of the stuff is migrating over to the new site, but the Adirondack, the one that's on ANCA's website, is more about the sort of development of the program and a little bit more of the sort of nitty gritty of how the organizationally works. And then the Own North Country Business is much more sort of public facing and easy to access, and like the things that people would need to know. You might not care about, the year's worth of work plans or whatever that are in there.
Great. Thank you. Well, we'll move along to our next panelist. Jennifer Stevenson is from Blue Heron Realty in Ogdensburg, and she is the current president of the New York State Association of Realtors, which is over 60,000 professionals across the state. So we're very thankful and fortunate that you've joined us today to share some of your experience in assisting with sale of businesses.
Thanks, Brooke. Some of what I'm going to talk about, Danny touched on a bit. Just a little housekeeping item. So I love that we have some of our realtor members here. We've got a couple of our presidents here. So just when you're interfacing with realtors, what you should remember is that realtor is a term that is trademarked, and it means membership in an association. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're selling real estate, because appraisers may also be realtors. So you kind of think about, if you could insert the word member instead of realtor, then you're using it correctly. If you can't put the word member in place of it, then you're not. It's kind of like every cola is not a Coke, every tissue is not a Kleenex. So just something to remember with that, because people that are realtors could be an appraiser, and that's not what you're looking for. Just a little housekeeping so that we all are familiar with that. And it always should be capitalized. It's something I teach in my orientation class, so it's near and dear to my heart to make our trademark term. One of the most important things is as a real estate professional that may deal with commercial real estate is understanding that you already own your own small business. Even if you're not the broker of your office, you own your own small business because you are the one that's responsible for what you do at the end of the day. And when you file your tax returns and your Schedule C, et cetera, you're a small business owner. And not everyone that is good at their craft is meant to be a business owner in a larger scale. So that's where we see, and we need to help professionals when they're saying, Jen, I might want to sell my little pizza shop in a couple of years, or my little bistro in a few years, or my craft store in a few years. They may have been the best person to make that pizza or to develop those crafts or know what people are looking for. But the back end of their business may be a complete mess. They may not keep track of inventory. They may not keep track of all of their deductions. They may not know what an ROI is, return on investment. They may not know the price per unit and square footage of the building they may or may not own. They may not even know what their lease terms are. So that's a place to start with them, is getting their house in order. And sometimes, as Danny said, it takes a few years to get someone ready to sell their business. And you can be instrumental and should be instrumental in doing that. Sometimes the best advice you can give them is to wait, is to get ready to sell. It's like transitioning from residential real estate to commercial real estate. And the residential side, we may be saying, oh, you've got to get some curb appeal here. You've got to pair out those closets. You've got to paint that bright purple bedroom a more neutral today's color, a gray or something. You have to do the same thing in commercial real estate. It's getting ready. Most real estate professionals in the North Country, with a few exceptions, are going to deal with the smaller mom and pop locations. They're not going to deal with the 500 unit apartment house or the huge shopping center coming in. We're going to be dealing with the smaller businesses, the 5-10 unit commercial apartment houses, along those lines. You need to know as a real estate professional that this is something we do, but it's something that it is their largest investment, is their livelihood now. It's not just their home, it's typically their livelihood. So if you need help, you need to partner with a real estate professional that is more proficient in commercial. Because when they go to get the financing, the new buyer, it's great to find the buyer, but when they go to get that financing, there are a lot of things that commercial lender is going to be asking. They're going to want to know what a cap rate is, what an NOI is, your net operating income. They're going to want to know what the building classification is if they own it. They're different. It's not just, oh, they own the building on the corner. Well, what classification is? You also have to be very careful with what your zoning is in a location. What is the opportunity for growth? So it's not just can they operate where they are now, but if they've got a vacant office front on the side that they've never developed, well, have they passed the opportunity for developing that? Are the new guidelines requiring parking now at a more extensive rate? Has the fire code changed? What are the local requirements for any kind of inspection, such as in Ogdensburg? You have to have every 3 years an inspection by the fire department to say that you can run a business there. So you have to ask these questions and you have to know your market. You just can't say, oh, well, I've got a friend that wants to sell a business 60 miles away, and I'm just going to go grab that listing. You have to investigate and you have to know your craft. That's very important to do that. There are certain realtor members that are a member of CCIM, and that's an affiliate of the National Association of Realtors, and it means they're a certified commercial investment member. That's what they focus on. There are also realtor members that focus on property management, and they manage thousands of units of rental properties and commercial properties with that. And they're a member of IREM, and that's real estate management firm. or association. So there's help out there for you to go and look for and to partner with. And most commercial realtors will help you. You know, they know that you're in a different area, and sometimes they'll list it because commercial brokers deal throughout the entire state. They're not as specific as typically knowing your own marketplace. Commercial real estate is much broader, and they typically carry a larger area. We also have at NYSAR, we have our New York State Commercial Association of Realtors, which is a division of us. So you all know Jim Walker, he's the president of that. He's under NYSAR. So there is help out there. But the preparation is one of the most important things you can do. But please don't just talk to someone and say, okay, we'll take your listing and pop it on LoopNet, put a sign out front, because it's not going to go someplace. LoopNet is like the Zillow of the commercial world. So it will get the information out there, but that's just the start, because one of the most important terms in real estate and aspects of this is relationships. And that's why we're all here today. We're developing relationships with other organizations. Oops, sorry, thought I put that on silence. We're developing relationships, and that's a lot about what commercial is. It's having the relationships to know where to go to get help so that you can assist the person that wants to buy that small ice cream shop and say, you know what, I'm going to give Danny a call, or I'm going to give Kim a call, or maybe Brooke has someone that can help me out with this. Or you've got the seller that wants to sell it, and you did pop it on LoopNet or any of the other sites, and you didn't, and you put the sign out, and now they're not getting any business because you put a sign on a business, and you need help. So that relationship aspect is what you're developing today and what you need to know. The most important thing, I think, with commercial is knowing where to go to get the resources, where to go to share the resources that you have, and having that trust with everyone. I could go on all day and teach you all a class about it, but many of us are already familiar with it. And those of you that don't, maybe have a little taste for it. And we can help you get direction if you want to start taking any of the tracks to develop your commercial real estate.
Great.
That helps.
Yes, thank you. And I didn't mention in the beginning, but I want to mention it now. If you have any questions, feel free to type them into the chat box as they come to mind, and we can address them at the end. We've left a good chunk of time for conversation. So I always say no question is too silly or small. Feel free to put it in there. We have some wonderful professionals here today to pick your brain, pick their brain. So don't hesitate to do that. Thank you, Jen. That was great information. And you had mentioned before that you've worked with other brokers or agents when it comes to certain properties. So that's an option too, speaking to partnership.
It certainly is. And I think it's one of the most important things, again, the relationship and knowing where that person that will help you. And at the end of the day, it's all about servicing your client or your customer. So help is, there's no shame in asking for help or partnering with someone that has more experience there. You've got the relationship with the buyer or the seller. Now you just need to partner with the person that can help you to do the best job you can do.
Great. All right. We are going to shift over to our next presenter, who is Kim Manion. She's a disaster advisor. The Small Business Development Centers have brought on a number of additional advisors through the pandemic and some SBA funding. And so she has returned as an advisor to the SBDC. She's based in Plattsburgh, which is now a part of the SUNY Canton SBDC at Clinton Community College. So I'll let Kim take it away with how she advises her clients, both on the buying and selling end.
Sure. So I'm going to try, oh, here we go. Where's my presentation here? Where's my presentation here? Hold on, bear with me. This is the first. I cannot find my presentation. This is embarrassing.
Kim, I have it. Do you want me to just open it on mine and you can tell me?
Yeah, this is very, yeah, because that's not what I want to share. Yeah, Danny, please bring it up. That's why I sent it to you. Yeah, so we're going to talk about the SBDC, realtors and sell sheets. So the SBDC is a network of centers all over the country that work with businesses of all different shapes and sizes on a variety of business related topics. Everything from marketing and finance to, businesses that are looking to expand and that kind of thing. Yeah, next slide. The SBDC is funded at the top by the SBA in concert with the state of New York, and they partner with local organizations, in our case, SUNY Canton and the Clinton Community College. The SBDCs were founded in 1984. There are 22 centers around New York and 1,000 centers nationwide. So it's a pretty comprehensive network. SBDC advisors and counselors come from a variety of backgrounds, but most have been small business owners or they have management expertise in small businesses. There are 200 counselors and we have a variety of backgrounds. So what's really neat is if I'm not an expert in the area that is of note for you, I can work with and partner with other counselors in the organization. We get ongoing professional development, different certifications that we can do, and webinars that we can participate in. And what's interesting is we work with businesses, existing businesses, new businesses, people that want to get entrepreneurs that want to start a new business. It's not limited. I think one of the key things to note is that we offer one-on-one confidential counseling. Obviously, we can't talk to anybody about it. It's strictly confidential, so people should feel comfortable to come to the SBDC because you know that we're here to assist you. We can't talk to anybody. We work with our businesses that are looking to perhaps grow and expand. Maybe they're looking to add a product line, a service line, a second location, things like that. Overcoming challenges. Obviously, the phone was ringing off the wall when COVID started because businesses were really feeling threatened by it. Or it may just be challenges that you're facing because of the nature of your business. We help businesses understand their financials. So when Danny was talking about if a business wants to think about transitioning for whatever reason, getting their financials in order is super important. And there are people out there that are the receipts in a shoebox kind of approach to financials. Those folks we can work with to get those tightened up and get ready for sale. Again, new business ideas, businesses and transitions, that kind of thing. The SBDC offers a wide variety of training options and seminars. And there is a network of librarians that can do very, very deep research. So if you are looking to explore a business opportunity or a market, that kind of thing, we can get you research that can help with that decision making. The services, all of the one-on-one counseling that we offer is free. The workshops and some of the other opportunities that we have are very low cost. So it's really very reasonable. So let's talk about realtors and selling businesses. Realtors, by and large, are experts at selling real estate, whether it's residential real estate, commercial real estate, that kind of thing. And I think business owners who own their building will often seek out a realtor to help them with both the sale of the business and the building. But you could the realtors can build a reputation as a go-to person for that particular kind of sale. When there is not only a building involved, but when there is a business associated with it. And Jennifer was saying you are marketers and people will come to you, and you are small business owners, if you will, and you may be looking for an opportunity to grow your business. You could potentially grow your market as a business broker that can help people that not only own their business and building, but maybe perhaps just their business. So it's an opportunity to build a niche. Last week, we did a session on business valuation. It went pretty well, and I'm sure Danny can share that link if folks are interested in learning more about kind of an approach to valuation. And if you are working with an owner who is looking to sell their business and they're struggling with valuation, work with Danny or the SBDC. We can certainly help with that. Pardon me. So marketing your client's business with a sell sheet. I think many people know that, and if we can go to the next slide, Danny, that'd be great. In this day and age, only about 30% of businesses are actually selling. So it's a tough market for people that are wanting to sell their business. And a really good sell sheet can help your business stand out in the market. And again, if you have a really solid sell sheet, it can help you stand out as a realtor that works with business owners that want to sell their business. It shows buyers that you're serious, that you and your client are serious about your selling your business. And going through the process of putting a sell sheet together can really help justify your valuation. One of the things that a buyer will very, very often ask when you put your business on the market is, how did you come up with your valuation? Like, what is your justification for your valuation? And having gone through this process and going through your financials can help you defend that valuation. It also helps when you get to the point of negotiating an offer to be able to do that. It gives you confidence to go into the market with a really nicely packaged, a package that you can go into the market with. So creating a sell sheet. I think of a sell sheet as a resume for your client's business, right? I think we're far more familiar with resumes than we are with sell sheets, even in the world of business sales. So yes, it's a very, we have been taught it should be one page. It needs to be very tight and concise. It needs to highlight your strengths and your best assets. You want to create enough interest in your business that somebody is going to pick up the phone and call you. There's tons and tons of information about a business that needs to be shared at some point. You and your client will decide when to share what information. That more comprehensive information is shared after a non-disclosure, right? And it can be packaged into what we call a selling memo, which is a much deeper dive into your business. This is the marketing piece that highlights your most positive aspects of the business. The idea to stay positive, right? Regardless of where somebody is at in their motivation to sell. Maybe they're pretty anxious and desperate to sell for whatever reason. Obviously, you don't want to put that forward. You want to be really positive. And Danny and Jen both talked about anonymity with your sale. This is a discussion that you need to have with your client. Obviously, selling a business anonymously is much less disruptive to the business in terms of clients and vendors and that kind of thing, but it does make it harder to market your business. So if someone's early on in their process, they may want to go to the market anonymously. And as it moves along and they're a couple of years into selling their business, they may want to be more public in terms of marketing. So parts of the sell sheet. In this day and age, most of your marketing efforts are going to be online. So you're going to want to create a pretty intriguing headline that is going to encourage people to click through. Things like highly profitable, long-term growing business, things like that. When you discuss the location, the anonymity kind of comes in here. If you're the only pizza parlor in downtown XYZ town, you're probably not going to want to list the town. You're going to just want to list it at the county level. Description. Tagline, again, this is kind of draws somebody in, highlights the key strengths and assets. And one of the things is, again, we're going to run through a number of different topics. It is up to you and your client to work together to highlight the best assets that you have. You certainly do not need to list all of this information in your sell sheet. But you're going to want to at least provide a high-level view of the products and services that you're offering. And you're going to want to, like in a resume, include very quantifiable and positive metrics. We've experienced 20% growth over the last 3 years. Our margins are increasing in our high-volume product areas. We have a very long-term staff with an average tenure of 5 years, things like that. Including information about the history of the business, including the year that it was established, is certainly helpful. And pictures, a picture is worth 1,000 words. The anonymity piece comes in here. You may need to have fairly zoomed in pictures in order to maintain the anonymity of a business. And then it's obviously helpful sometimes to include the reason that you're selling. Danny will get back certainly and go to the next slide, but we can talk about it. The key financials that you're going to want to include in your sell sheet. The more financial information that you've been able to pull together and that you're willing to share, the more interest you're going to get in the business. The key financials that you largely want to share will be obviously the asking price of the business, the valuation of the business, and that whether that includes, inventory, furniture, fixtures, and equipment, that kind of thing. You're absolutely going to want to include the revenue for the business, the cash flow. So what is the net cash flow from the business? We, in terms of valuation, often describe that as a seller's discretionary earnings, right? EBITDA, right, of fairly earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. A little bit more technical, but a number that a business buyer is going to be looking for. The valuation on furniture, fixtures, and equipment, and the valuation on inventory. All of these pieces will be negotiated. So you're going to want to start at a fairly high end on those. In terms of the valuation, you're going to want to work with your clients. And again, this is the same with a home or a commercial property. You're going to want to establish the best case scenario. Like if everything goes well, this is what I want to get for you. Right down to your walkaway price, right? Like when I talk to sellers about valuation, you have a conversation around where they are in kind of what their priorities are and what's important to them. Are they at the very beginning of the process and they can start with a high valuation? Or have they thought about selling their business for quite some time, but haven't really done anything about it, and now they're really ready to be done? That's a very different place to start and a place for negotiation. So those are just conversations that I'm sure you have with your buyers. You want to include information about employees, right? Just the number of employees, how many part-time, full-time. Do you ramp up in the summer because you're a seasonal business? Do you have long-term employees? Are they, you have a lot of college kids that work for you, but you have a college nearby, and so you have a regular stream of employees, that kind of thing. Your facilities, do you rent or own your business? I'm sorry, rent or own your building. If you rent, what are the lease details? Maybe the lease term is up in the next year, but the owner of the building has indicated that they're willing to work with a new buyer to negotiate a longer term lease. If you own your building, is the real estate included? You may have a valuation with the real estate included. You may have a valuation without the real estate included, that kind of, or perhaps the business is home-based and you would want to note that kind of thing. What is the competitive landscape? If you're the only XYZ kind of business in town, or for 20 miles, if you're in a more urban area, that's a very different place than if you have tons of competition. Are you in a product area where you're seeing lots of growth, or is it a more mature market where there aren't that kind of opportunities? Within your business, what are the new opportunities that you might have? There may be an opportunity to, if you've been a business owner for a long time, maybe you've scaled back your business to only your most profitable customers and you've let some other customers go, but a new owner may be motivated to go after those customers, right? Or maybe there's other product or service offerings that you've considered exploring, but you haven't done so for whatever reason. Post-sale support, and this is another item that could be negotiated. You as working with your seller, how willing are they to work with the new buyer for that post-sale support? Is it something that they're going to be able to provide in person, or are they going to provide it remotely? Is it 2 weeks of in-person sales followed by 6 months of remote, whatever that looks like? And again, that could be negotiated. So understand where you're starting from and that kind of thing. So following, we have a couple of just sell sheets that have some positive aspects to them. Again, here's our tagline: highly profitable bagel business in a high traffic strip mall, right? That, if I was interested in a business, that would capture my attention. Asking price, cash flow, gross revenue, all those metrics that and financials that we discussed. They're doing $40,000 a week and rent is only 6% of sales. I'm guessing that 6% of sales must be a really good number for rent, or they wouldn't be highlighting that. A little bit of a description about the business, the number of employees, only bagel shop within 8 miles. They are looking at expanding their menu because there's opportunities there. A little bit more. And I realized that these were both restaurants, so I apologize there, but highly profitable pizza business in great location. This one goes into a little bit more detail, but you can see when it was established, we're 600,000 in sales. They have a 5-star rating. They do delivery. They discuss their rent, the amount of time remaining with their current lease, their net sales. Again, just different information about their facilities, competition, that kind of thing. So a couple of examples on some good sell sheets. So just to kind of dive a little bit deeper, you provided the sell sheet. You have somebody interested in the business. You've signed a non-disclosure, and a selling memo is part of the due diligence. A buyer is going to want to dig very deeply into your business, as you all know. Putting a selling memo together can answer many of those questions. It could be as much as a 20-page document, right? Some really good selling memos are out there. It's a deep dive into all of the categories that we previously discussed. So in your sell sheet, you're going to highlight the most positive and strong aspects of your business. In the selling memo, you go deep into all of those. You'll go into your marketing strategies, your online profiles, your social media efforts. You'll dig deep into your operations, your processes, protocols, perhaps some of the challenges and concerns that you have with your business. You'll discuss your relationships with your suppliers, your patents, any contracts that you have, that kind of thing. And this is where you go deep into the financials as well. And even more information about even more great pictures on your business, because now they know who you are, so you can be very comprehensive with your pictures. So working with a realtor, when I bought my business, the business was listed with a realtor. The building was for sale and the business was for sale. And what the realtor did, in my opinion, was he did an awesome job of keeping the process moving. There wasn't a sell sheet in this instance, but he facilitated getting all kinds of great information. Facilitated the NDA, helped with the letter of intent, which would be the kind of the next process. That's part of the due diligence, right? Like the going back and forth of information facilitated the contract. And what was really nice in working, even though the realtor represented the seller, I really felt like he was very objective and the voice of reason. When someone is selling their business, this is potentially their life's work. It's something that they've very often have done for many years, and they are very invested in that business. And the valuation may reflect that, right? I went to the seller with a lower asking price, and the realtor was able to present that offer, again, the same way you do with real estate, in a very objective way. He facilitated the negotiation. It was a very positive experience. So I think realtors can be invaluable in terms of the whole process, for sure. The SBDC is here to help. You all work with whether it's commercial folks that are interested in selling that maybe aren't as business savvy as they might be. It's a mom and pop operation. We can work with those folks. We can work with all kinds of businesses that are looking to transition, expand, are struggling we are here to help. Thanks.
Thank you, Kim. There's a lot of good information, and I know we have real estate professionals on, as well as some business owners or future business owners. So hopefully everyone has learned a little bit from each of your contributions. Jen, I see you've unmuted. Did you want to add something?
I did. And Kim, you had some great information there. And one item that real estate professionals need to be aware of is when you do the purchase contract, make sure that you're aware that there is a difference between just having the price, because it really divides out into about 3 different categories, short overview. And that would be your fixed assets, your goodwill, and your inventory. So be aware of that. And sometimes that's better to be noted in the purchase contract and handled under the attorney review clause. And that might be a good place to spell that out a little better. So in other words, you could do a purchase contract for $100,000 and say under attorney review clause, it will be ascertained as to what portion will be fixed assets, inventory, and goodwill, because that will have different implications for them for tax purposes. You are not a tax professional, so you do want to leave that to the professionals. So just be aware that we don't want to just go in, if you're working for the buyer or the seller, with just a straight, this is the purchase price, if it includes all 3 items. And you really need to talk about how that inventory is going to be decided. That's, is inventory, when is the inventory going to be taken? At what point of the sale? And also be aware that many business owners will hold a note on the property. And it's necessary sometimes for financing to have that owner do some owner financing. And sometimes it's in their best interest also for tax purposes. So have those conversations. Don't be afraid to ask. Just wanted to add that.
Yeah, absolutely. And very often, and we actually had Doug Hoffman on in our valuation presentation that we did last week, because you'll definitely want to work, a seller is definitely going to want to work with their accountant, because how that overall sales price is divided between goodwill, furniture, fixtures, and equipment, and the real estate and the inventory have a tax implication for the seller. And what they can hold paper for have different tax implications. So yeah, definitely, hopefully the seller has worked with their accountant, but without question. And what's interesting, and this is a question that was asked last time, negotiating those pieces, right? Like you may get to $150,000 valuation, right? But the goodwill's at $50,000, the inventory's at $100,000, all of that is negotiable. And a realtor can really help and partner with the seller and the buyer in terms of negotiating those pieces.
Great addition. And just a reminder that Danny put the link to the valuation resources session that's been referenced multiple times here from last week. So that might be a great piece of information for you. Wonderful. Are there any questions? Feel free to type in. And for those joining us who are new to ANCA and the CBIT or new to the SBDC, if you have any questions for the type of resources that they provide or anything specific just in kind of building this relationship and this partnership with these resource partners, feel free to do that too. We don't assume anybody knows everything. So certainly take the opportunity to do that. I did have one question. It was mentioned, each of you, I think, mentioned at some point the anonymity of selling a business and the implications of that for a business owner. But I was hoping that possibly each of you could just touch on a little bit if a business wants to sell anonymously, and we've talked about this 3 to 5 year window of selling. What are your options or advice, or what have you seen been successful? And maybe Danny, if you want to start, just you had mentioned it in your presentation, but if you want to talk a bit about kind of the matchmaking that you've been able to do.
Yeah, so business owners call us all the time, but we also talk to aspiring entrepreneurs, folks who live in the area or want to move to the area for one reason or another and are looking for particular opportunities. So what we do if somebody's looking for a particular kind of business, we can really sort of dig into that with them and then talk to the seller who may not be as public. And we just connect them. So we just make sure that everybody is okay with that connection with whoever's, if they're both confidential, then we just get everybody's okay to make sure they're connected. But that is a way that we can do that. We don't do it. Without everybody's. Sorry, I got another message while I was answering the question. So we don't do it without everybody's okay. So we're really, confidential in that. But some folks are really public about or really more public about their intentions, but they do want a little bit of just that one filter before their employees know that they're selling or something like that. So we have a few folks that we have been able to connect that way. And there's about 2 right now that are looking into purchasing an existing business through that kind of matchmaking component.
Great, thank you. And I know it was mentioned in Danny's introduction, but all of these partners scattered all across the North Country, that's the idea there, is that we are the boots on the ground, kind of have a pulse on what's going on. And so, Danny will call me up with some mysterious request sometimes to say, I have someone who's interested in this sort of thing. She's, switching careers and looking for this with this exact type of whatever. Do you happen to know anyone in, that fits the bill? And so then I can share some thoughts. And Jen said before we started the session, every business is for sale at a price. And perhaps even if it's not listed or we don't know it, that maybe we might say, that person's getting older or they've been doing this for a while. Maybe they would be interested in that. And so we can match make them. And I think that's a great opportunity. Obviously it remains anonymous and can typically be a really good fit if that entrepreneur is doing that outreach themselves. And I think there is a lot of conversation about starting a new business, and there's not as much conversation about buying an existing business and recognizing that it could take 3, 5, 10 years to build a business. Whereas if you can step into it and take on an established business and then make it your own, but skip that startup phase is not such a bad option. So I think, the more we can kind of normalize that conversation is good as well. Kim,
But can I just add, when a seller chooses to work with a realtor or a broker, they are relying on you to help market their business. So for a business owner to try to market their business anonymously on their own, that's virtually impossible, right? Whereas if they choose to work with a realtor or a broker, they are relying on you to reach out and identify potential buyers through your networks, whether it's through associations or the local network of resources that we have on the call, as we've discussed. But that's when they engage with a broker. I think that's a lot of what they are looking for, is they're willing to spend the money for you to actively market your business.
Great. Thank you. And your sell sheet described some good ways of remaining anonymous with general kind of location and being creative with your photos to show value in an anonymous sort of way. So those are some really good tips. Jen, do you have any kind of personal experience in trying to help, or any of the other professionals on the call with helping to facilitate something a bit more anonymous?
I think the most important thing is that that word that I mentioned earlier, relationship. Your relationship with the buyer, the seller, them having the confidence in you, and know that you don't have loose lips on Friday night at dinner. It's always, you're always a realtor, you're always a licensee, so you always have to remember what your professional relationship is with each person that you're working with. And you don't tell secrets, because once you tell that secret, you've lost your standing with that person. So you have to be confidential. You can't just this one time say it, because that one person will say it to the next person, the next person, the next person. So there are many times that I have known that two partners are divorcing, whether it's a business partnership or a personal relationship, that they are divorcing, and this business is for sale, and it's pretty important that it sells quickly. That never can be discussed. That is, if I'm working for that bot, for that seller, that never can be discussed. Now, if I'm working on the buyer side and I'm a buyer's agent and I know something to be fact, then that is something to be discussed, what their motivation is, because sometimes that will affect a price that they may or may not be able to accept or willing to accept. Or it could mean also that you're going to have a very nasty negotiation, because one may be in for selling because financially they want to let go and the other may not. So there's a lot of things that come into play. But the most important thing is the ethics involved with keeping that anonymity and knowing. And sometimes you go and you knock on that door of that business because you know that they're your age and they're getting tired. They've been on their feet, if it's a restaurant, for 20, 30 years and worked every Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And they may be prime because now they've got family situations that have changed. So never be afraid. And if you have that good relationship in your community with being the trusted advisor, you can sometimes facilitate those things and open doors for your investors that may not open for other people.
Great, thank you. There was one question, and it looks like Danny answered it in the chat, but Jody's asking, when sharing your services with clients to guide through the process, are your services sponsored by state or county funds, or are there fees to the client for your guidance and services? So Danny responded, but Kim and Danny, if you each want to.
Yeah, sure. Any of the advising services that are offered by the SBDC, any of the one-on-one counseling is absolutely free. If there may be workshops or programs that you might want to participate with, and there may be a small fee, depending upon the length of the program or the workshop, it could be $10, or we had a 10-month program that was $100. So it's really very, very reasonable for the clients.
And I think the other key to SBD services too is that you're not replacing an accountant, you're not replacing an attorney, but you can certainly get somebody off the ground so that maybe they wouldn't have to, they might be able to save $5 or 5 hours of paying one of those professionals to kind of get their house in order, as you've mentioned, and gather those pieces so that when they walk in to an accountant or an attorney, they know what they're talking about and they've got some of their information to hit the ground running. So I think that's a really good way to look at the services of the SBDC as well.
Yep.
As a former SBDC advisor. Danny, did you want to add anything? Oh, and the SBDC is state and federally funded.
And at the local level as well, through the universities.
Right. Danny, did you just want to touch? I know you chatted it in, but
on
the
the
recording.
The Center for Business and Transition is largely funded by the Northern Border Regional Commission through a 3-year pilot grant. The Northern Border Regional Commission is a federally funded entity working in the rural northern parts of New York, New Hampshire, Maine, and Vermont. And so most of the time, everything's free. We are doing some more right now, more in-depth evaluation appointments with folks with a contractor. And so for those, we ask for a $50 donation. If we ever ask for the services or help that we can provide, it's by donation only. So it's pay for it at that time, that's fine. They do not have to do it.
Great. So it's ability to leverage some of the grant funds to lost the word, but help pay for these things or access or negotiate the services at a lower cost. So that's great. A follow-up question: what is the difference between services CBIT offers and the SBDC offers? Are both one-stop shops?
So we're partners. I mean, most of the time I send people over to the SBDC. So typically folks call and want an overview of all of the resources that are available and sort of like what does this process look like? What do I need to do? And that's kind of where we, the Center for Business and Transition, kind of steps in to sort of start with that initial conversation, a more in-depth interview, the kind of general overview of regional resources and who are all the local resources you can use, whether they're Brooke at the St. Lawrence Chamber, whether it's the SBDC, which are closest to you, and that sort of thing. And oftentimes we send folks to the SBDC because they are great partners and they provide that technical service, that sit down, nuts and bolts, business plan, valuation, really like going through all of the bits and pieces to help you one-on-one. And then one thing that the Center for Business and Transition can do is talk publicly about the businesses being for sale and do the matchmaking component with aspiring entrepreneurs. And that's not something that the SBDC can provide. Kim, did I?
Absolutely. And I
Okay.
have clients that I'm working with, I'm helping them get their pro forma spreadsheets together, right? Like a 3-year average of their revenue, their EBITDA, their seller's discretionary earnings. I help them put a sell sheet together, and then we transition and I make the introduction to Danny for businesses that are sellers that are interested in selling. I then refer them to Danny, and Danny does the interview and then can help them market their business. So yeah, it's a wonderful working relationship back and forth. But I would agree that we do more of the one-on-one counseling with somebody to help them package their financials, that kind of thing.
Okay, and liaisons, the CBIT liaisons, like the St. Lawrence County Chamber is in St. Lawrence County, we can, again, be the boots on the ground to have those personal conversations if people are familiar with us, to help, again, have a confidential conversation and connect them with all of the resources. I think the first important step for you, if you're talking to someone interested in buying or selling, even if you're very confident with handling that, is to have them fill out the form. It's very simply put on the what is the URL? I've got to get used to it. ownanorthcountrybusiness.com. There's a quick form for if you're interested in buying, or a quick form for if you're interested in selling. And so they can add all the details there that they're working with a real estate professional, or they're working with the SBDC, and that interview with one of the liaisons or Danny will draw out the rest of that and just help connect them to the resources. That's the key piece there. So if there are any other questions or clarification needed on that, feel free to chat that into the box. We have a question, and anyone might have opinion on this or not. This may have been answered in another webinar. When generally is the best time of year to transition a business or to buy a business?
I'll jump in. If you have a seasonal business that has a very, I'm not sure if erratic is the right word, but a cash flow that is very seasonal in nature, that will govern when you want to sell the business. Because if you're going into the dark time, right, where somebody's going to need additional capital to get through the winter, let's say, that does not bode well for you in your negotiation, right? You want to try to sell a business going into the high time. So that would be my answer. If you're selling a business that is highly seasonal in nature. If it's not seasonal in nature, I don't have a good answer for that one.
So I'd like to jump in a little bit with that. And it depends. That's the answer, is it depends. If the buyer is very familiar with the business that they're buying, they have experience in that area, they could really jump in at any time. And I agree with Kim, going in when you know you're going to be getting a return on your investment and having that cash flow is a good thing. If you don't know anything about the business, but it's something you've wanted to learn, the better time is to come in halfway through the dark season, the time when you're halfway off of the seasonal time, so that you can actually gain the experience before you're thrown into the throes of the craziness of the season. So to me, it really is dependent upon the business, dependent upon your knowledge. And that's where your professionals can help you with that area.
Very helpful. Thank you. I think that covers our questions, and we're a little bit over time here. We weren't sure we were even going to fill our time. So great conversation today. I hope you all gained a lot of value from it, and we welcome you as part of the CBIT extended family. And don't hesitate to be in touch with me personally or Danny. We're here to work together. That's really the key. That's been said many times. Thank you again to our panelists. And I don't think I ever introduced myself, but I'm Brooke Rouse from the St. Lawrence County Chamber of Commerce, one of the liaisons with the CBIT since its inception. And I'm so glad to have this partnership. We wish you all a great day and a great week, and certainly share this recording with others. Thank you again.
Thanks, everybody.